Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the BTS series number 4. We're here in America. It's going to be Digital Chaos facing off against Luccini Gaming in what should be a pretty fabulous series. It's our last one of today, the second to last day of the first round, if I'm not mistaken. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Blaze Casting. Blaze, it's been a little while, but how's it going, man? You excited for this matchup?
Oh, most definitely. I've been excited to see more and more of the Digital Chaos roster that is coming into fold, going closer and closer to the TI6 and Manila Major roster locks. And here we see Soxa and Resolution playing a very big role in that. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Luccini's got some potential as well. There's some players that have been on some really well-known Peruvian teams, like Isuru's, yeah, it's just in general, they have shown that they have potential, but obviously DC is the favorite. So going into it, seeing the strength of this kind of European, North American collision, we'll have to see who's going to be going through this single elimination in round 1.
Yeah, and we'll already right off the bat here, we're going to have the Earth Spirit band out, the Beastmaster OD in that DP with the first pick, Nature's Prophet. So Digital Chaos paying attention to the meta as it's been unfolding. It's kind of weird. Like I feel like there's these moments where even if teams aren't necessarily at tournaments, they like you pick up so much of the stuff from all of the other games that are going on in the Dota 2 stratosphere and then make that your own. And I think that it's worth noting that I really feel like this DC lineup has a lot of potential to go far in its current iteration. Like I think that they've gotten a lot of hate in the past for maybe not performing up to the expectations that some people had, but maybe those expectations were a little bit unrealistic from the start. At least those are kind of my impressions of it, and I'm excited to see what they do moving into this next major. Enchantress, Witch Doctor, and then the Ursa too.
Yeah, it's too bad Bulba's not sticking around though. That's I mean, he brought a lot to the team, you know.
Is he not sticking around?
Nah, it's a running joke on Twitter. I've been having a blast with it. Like we're talking about Xylar coming to DC. Like we got it all, man. It's awesome. Everybody anybody that doesn't like do Twitter in general, maybe there's stigma behind it or whatever. The Dota 2 community is awesome on Twitter, and a lot of the players are having a lot of fun with this. Obviously, there's some unfortunate drama with the secret roster, and well, that's definitely something that people can have mixed feelings about. In general, a lot of these guys are just here to have fun, and they're a lot of fun just to follow and interact with directly there. But focusing on this game here, the opener here from both teams is actually quite interesting. I thought that the Vengeful Spirit would have been a little bit higher prioritized. You got physical damage dealers like the Beastmaster and Death Prophet that were taken out because DC do love to pick up those types of heroes for Resolution and Bulba. But the Venge is another hero that we've been seeing a lot on Soxa as well as on a number of Luccini's players. So the Venge not being picked up, but still we see heroes like Enchantress and Witch Doctor, very early emphasis on push and some really good source of damage. I mean, the pure damage from the Enchantress, the physical damage from the Witch Doctor, their ultimates bring a lot to the table. DC actually do grab up the Ursa here, but I would say that's as much as a denial pick as it is a pick for themselves because Luccini have been picking up a hell of a lot of Ursa recently, and it's kind of one of those things that it's a lot easier to play around, especially with the dire side Prophet. You can push and Roche and kind of have your cake and eat it too, rather than having to interrupt and disrupt. If you have to constantly be looking at the Roche pit and mitigating its effectiveness for Luccini, then it kind of allows Luccini to dictate the pace of the game and where people have to move. So I love the Ursa pickup for DC, but we're going to see Luccini pick up Aoi's favorite in the Sven.
Yeah, very cool. You know, that's something that I was kind of wondering about too, is the Ursa pickup there. And the way that you describe it makes a lot of sense to me as a denial pick, because I think a lot of times people just see the Ursa as like they just pick it to counter Enchantress. And I don't think it really works like that necessarily. Like obviously Overpower is great against Enchantress, the ability to just burst her down, and also sort of ramp up in that damage if you get a couple swipes here or there. But it feels like it's not necessarily always the greatest answer. You need to have it in conjunction with other stuff. So saying that, Luccini's been picking it up a lot themselves, it makes sense now to see that. But yeah, the Sven pickup also, they've got some control for it. I'm wondering, is there any particular hero that you really like in the offlane role as an initiation counterpart to that Sven? Like maybe something along the lines of a Beastmaster or a Tidehunter or something like that? Or do you think it's going to be the Enchantress in the offlane?
It could go either way. I actually think Enchantress Witch Doctor have a pretty good economic fluid as a 4 and 5 position support, even though they both like to get a little bit of farm. They can balance it out with how much Enchantress gets just from jungling and ganking. The Slider is a great example of something that you were mentioning, which is just like hard initiation, something that clicks, All he needs is a Blink Dagger, and suddenly he can set up a huge amount of damage. You get the physical damage from Sven and Witch Doctor, looking for some negative armor to help it out, and obviously just the short cooldown on Crush, the Blink Dagger mobility. It's going to allow you to get a lot of kills on the Prophet, to be frank. But the Beastmaster being banned out, I think they would have gone for the Beastmaster if they had the option. Another interesting here to consider is actually Magnus. A lot harder to execute with, and obviously his AoE stun is on a much longer cooldown, but he can do amazing work with a Sven and Witch Doctor as well. So I would say Slardar is better because of the shorter cooldown, but you never know if a team wants to try to pull out something new.
Yeah, definitely. And now going back for that Tusk Invoker combo as well. You know, a lot of the times that I've been seeing Tusk nowadays is as an answer to an Earth Spirit. But what do you think is the reasoning behind going for this here? Is it just to try and allow for defensive saves, or is this about being aggressive early? What's your read on this Tusk pick?
I mean, obviously, it's just something that they feel really good about. Saksa, his top two heroes are Vengeful Spirit and Tusk. So this guy wants to get involved early, and if you got an Exhort Invoker, you've got the ability to go in, snowball Ice Shard, Sunstrike, and get so many kills. If you're only has to contribute just a tiny bit, you can get kills suddenly on the off lane. Preferably on supports, but it's just in general, like, I feel like it allows you to control space a lot better. Tusk is really good against Witch Doctor because it's much harder to get a Death Ward off because of his two ways of disabling you. It's just, you're always, as a Witch Doctor, trying to stay back, trying to wait for a couple of spells to fly out, and then be like, okay, now it's safe to channel my ultimate. But with Tusk, he's always going to have something up, and it's just really difficult to reliably get that channel out. So in general, Luccini really need to execute well on the Sven and the Slardar, get those AoE stuns out early in the fights, and make it so that they Digital Chaos don't get to turn on the Witch Doctor, don't get to worry about the backline because they're so focused on the front line. And if Luccini can get the jump, get the initiation, I think that Witch Doctor will do a lot and Tusk will do very little. But more often than not, you're going to see it's the other way around. DC are going to have early lane momentum against this Tinker, and just in general, that I think that they're going to be able to at least get a tower and a Roche in advantage in the first 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how they're able to pressure it. It definitely feels like it opens up that possibility of being able to take out that Roshan early with the Ursa there. Sometimes you end up seeing other heroes, I feel like, in the mid lane that can
how much drama
themselves.
are we going to get in one cast? I'm sorry, but not only are we getting this secret drama, all the shuffling, we just got the spring cleaning patch, man.
Oh my god.
Holy shit. I'm just going to have to turn off my second monitor because otherwise I will be fiending that shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And congratulations. You just got rid of all of our viewers as well, which is just wonderful. Everybody's about to be feeding
we are frontline, the perfect stream to discuss this new patch in live fashion. Twitch chat, I'm relying on you guys to enjoy every aspect of the drama and everything in between. So whether or not they watch the game, they will enjoy the chatter about all these current events. It's like live Reddit. I mean,
absolutely.
What could be better?
Totally.
Okay,
and in the background, all of that is just going to be a great game of Dota 2 occurring as well. So this is going to be wonderful. I'm super excited about this. We've got the Tinker pick too. I mean, this is sort of that Van idea. I think that he was the first person that I saw it running fairly consistently in this patch, the South American special. And then going back for the 1437 Winter Wyvern. I feel like this hero gets so much hate from people, but I absolutely love it. What are your thoughts on Winter Wyvern?
I felt like originally when he first got nerfed, when the Winter's Curse started being less and less effective in the same capacity as it was to its prior iteration, I felt like teams were using it wrong, people were building around it wrong, people are having a lot of issues reconciling what Winter Wyvern used to do and what he can do now. I feel like there's been enough time that teams are getting used to that, and there's a few teams that can reliably pick him up and do a lot of things with him. I actually saw a tier 2 Chinese team. I picked it up and I'm like, they don't know what they're doing. They can't figure this stuff out. This is still like too new. But they were able to convince me that this hero is extremely valuable if you use it properly, if you build off it properly. And I think that DC are going to be capable of it, not only being able to negate physical damage, which is a big aspect of Luccini's lineup with the Cold Embrace, but the Winter's Curse you can still build Fury Swipes on him, you can set up Invoker's spell set. I think there's a lot of potential with it. It just comes down to execution.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how they end up being able to execute. Certainly DC, a team that has a lot of hopes riding on their shoulders at this point in time. I think that I would favor them in this game. I'm not sure if I necessarily like their draft more. Is there a side of the draft that you like a little bit more here as we're looking towards this, as far as momentum into the game goes?
I mean, you gotta look at Kamuxi Tinker and realize that this is like his favorite hero to play. You gotta kind of feel like they're in the comfort zone. Luccini are gonna be able to execute pretty well and have a very good start. The only question I really have is this Slardar sword. I haven't seen enough of his play to really know if he's going to be confident in the matchup that he's going to be in. He's going to be hit hard by the Arctic burn, and obviously Ursa with just boots or even phase boots is going to be very threatening. So in general, I'm a little worried the Slardar won't get enough farm to get the blink fast. And if that's the case, then Lucchini's lineup is going to struggle. I think a lot hinges on Slardar's offlane experience, and if he can get there. I actually favor Luccini's in early fighting and in general the all-around style that they're playing. But on the other hand, the quick picks, just going in, Tusk moving to a lane with another hero, getting Tusk +1 and the Exhort Invoker, you're going to see a lot of kills racking up for DC very early.
Absolutely. You know, one thing I'm sort of, as we're waiting for this pause to unwind, this is something that sometimes comes into my head when I'm looking at casts. I'm going into the first-person view of the Radiant side of the jungle, and, like, what a cast of heroes right now. Imagine if, like, this was a movie poster. What would be the name of that movie? I have no idea, but you've got, like, a fishman here, you've got a deer, there's some type of, like, rocket dude, a voodoo person, and then just, like, a knight at the end of it. I love Dota so much, but this is just like such an interesting little dynamic here with all the different cast of heroes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy, Blaze. What do you think?
I don't know. It's always interesting. It definitely. I don't know. Dota is such a dynamic game. You can look at it a lot of different ways, but we got this pause. We got a little time before we get back into it, and
You want to go look at the patch, don't you? I can already tell.
I mentioned I'm like glancing over the chat. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Okay, but no, I'm actually turning the second monitor off now. There's no way I could multitask. I'm a fiend for Twitch notes or for patch notes, dude. Like I will pour over this stuff for hours. I just tell my wife, I'm sorry. Have a good night. I'll talk to you in the morning because there's just no way.
Yeah.
I every single change makes such this tiny little impact in Dota,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of people weeks to really comprehend the real impact of some of these changes. I mean, I looked at like everybody else jumps to like the hero changes, the item changes. Last patch I was looking, or the last big one, I was looking over at the neutral crew changes. I was like Satyr Tormentor getting that shockwave buff. I was like, what the hell? This is better than the old Wild Wing, and nobody even cared. But I knew that Shed and Chant would jump up, and I'm just ready to sink my teeth in. But for now, we've got an awesome game. I'm going to focus on that, and it looks like it's finally underway.
Absolutely. We're doing it live. It's going to be happening, ladies and gentlemen. Luccini facing off against DC. The game's unpausing, and we're going to be watching it here now as well. They go for a couple quick smokes right off the bat, but don't expect this to be any shenanigans like the level 1 Roshan. Probably just wanting to get themselves in a position to mess around slightly. This is, I think, always the question is how quickly can you get out to maybe try and block off that early camp from the Enchantress? It looks like that's what they're maybe going to try and secure for the side of Luccini.
Well, I mean, obviously that will, if they do get the off-lane camp there, then it'll give a foothold for Enchantress to help out the Slardar, which is a really big deal. But Enchantress won't be dedicated to the off-lane herself. Even if they block it off, she's still going to be able to find ganks elsewhere. And I feel like it might just be to a degree, a waste. But they're going to move it out. I'm sure they're going to put a Sentry out there, but I'm curious how Matthew plays around it. If he's just going to go ahead and look at the other camps in the Dire jungle and the Radiant jungle, it obviously will change how he has to position himself in terms of lanes. But for now, yep, the Sentry ward is down. The smoke is still in play, and I think they'll be able to get a Stormhammer out on somebody. Bulba walking away, but I think it's going to be the Ursa. Aoi 2000, okay, getting a little lucky.
Ooh.
He chooses the northern path, and while they see him, there's no way they can close the distance.
Yeah, and they're sending out the other treants the other side, so this might be here a kill onto the Tusk. If he spots him right away, he might be able to level up the Snowball to keep him alive. Still a little bit afraid, and yeah, he is going to go down. No way for him to escape from there. Tinker gets first blood and should be able to get the rune, which might secure them, both of them as well. Resolution's walking into this one. Does he have quick enough fingers? The Invoker does get the rune. Now body blocked up and a little bit of trouble trying to get the chase. Matthew's going to be able to do it with those boots. He's going to have to run off the other direction, and this might be second blood as well as Resolution does go down.
It's not even fair, man. A 380 movement speed here against 280. That's the easiest body blocking of Matthew's life. And that's going to be a very nice secondary kill here. So Luccini already off to a good start, though Invoker does grab the bounty room. That's a double bounty room for DC. The 2 kills obviously far more valuable. In terms of those creep camps, Matthew will not be able to tap into that aforementioned secret shop hard camp, but of course the pole camp is going to be on lockdown for DC as well.
Oh, the thing about this too that's a little bit frustrating. It looks like he actually is going to stick around for it. I thought he might have been going back down to the jungle and then he would have spotted out the Winter Wyvern, but 1437 here is scouting for a bottle, so the Enchantress at least is not going to be able to spot him. She does go over, is going to get a Hellbear Smasher for the moment. We'll see if they're going to be able to get that bottle snipe, but for at least now, Matthew should be able to mess with the Ursa, and they might just get this. God, this is going to be huge.
147's Arctic Burn is going to make it so easy, and it's just so effective because they realize that the Tinker just got a ton of gold. He just got that kill, or both kills actually. He's going to have a bottle super fast, and he's going to have to deliver it sooner rather than later. So don't even need the Nature's Prophet to snipe that up. They knew it was going to come soon, and just Winter Wyvern is probably like in the top 3 of heroes to do that.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of those moments where you should probably realize that's going on. Like, it's a pretty easy hero to get it with. 1437 is going to be heading back over again. Goes for the D ward on the camp. This is going to be visible, so they are going to be able to take it down. And looks like for the moment, Tusk's still waiting on that second item. Do you think that they can find a kill here in this lane with the Winter Wyvern moving in?
Well, the Enchantress is going to be hard because Aoi has yet to skill Overpower. I guess that'll be his next pickup here. But in general, like if you're going to go, you have to go on the Slardar, and even then you're going to get a 2-man crush. So they're going to try for it, and they're going to do a lot of damage, but I'm not sure they get the kill.
Snowball forward, going for it. They are going to be able to lift him up. He actually already committed. Oh, he didn't commit the crush. So canceled that one out. They didn't find the kill. Aoi ground pounds, and they just back up. And that's going to be a salve. So he's good to go again. And it looks like for the moment they're fine. Still chasing after the Tusk. They didn't end up losing that Hellbear Smasher, unfortunately. And everybody gets out alive, just committing a little bit of... they actually are battling here.
Yeah, they got rid of Aoi's Clarity so that he won't be able to do much more in terms of Earth Shocks. Has 1 Mango left, so that's a couple more shocks. But more importantly, Matthew just got a Satyr Tormentor. The big boy, and is going to be able to do a lot of harassment damage here on the Tusk.
Oh, Tusk actually dropping pretty low. Can they find the kill? Nice snowball back. That's going to keep him alive. And Aoi does a little bit more zoning for his buddy, and that does mean that they're going to be able to escape. They can go find that mid. Tinker
going in hard.
Oh my goodness, that level 2 already up on 1437. They are going for the Fairy Fire. One more right click is all they need. Counter. He wants to try and magic him out, but it's not going to be there.
Yeah, that was so well planned out too. It was actually 3-spell Voker there. He had the Tornado, EMP, and Cold Snap all coming in. 1437 with both the Arctic Burn and Splitter Blast from the high ground to low. So they are putting a lot of respect towards Kamuxi's Tinker, and they're saying, okay, well, it's just we can't let him get out of control. Kamuxi will get his boots, still waiting on his bottle. He's actually going to make the courier walk for it, but more importantly, he's back out on the lane getting his experience.
I always love that nice little, as soon as you TP back in, you get a laser down on top of your opponent mid. It's always good. The other thing is throwing out those rockets occasionally, but opting now just to go for the 202 build. Sometimes I feel like we end up seeing Tinkers go for like the maxing rockets as well. What's your opinion on those 2 skill builds?
Well, I feel like the laser's better here because you want to try to win the CS war more so against the Evoker. The laser is very important for that. And if you look at the mana and damage that you're expending, you're getting double damage for a little bit more mana. But now, although he will get the Disarm and Resolution, he's being flanked in hard. This is a 4v1, and this is a dead Tinker.
Really nicely played there. The shards are a little bit off the mark, but at the end of the day, they still managed to find it. And a pretty easy kill there with the rotation coming in. Is this one of those moments where they think about trying to pressure the mid lane? Like, I feel like another rotation there from Bulba might have been able to, you know, come in with the trance and do some damage to the tower.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got to get his own lane of experience. Right now, the Witch Doctor and Sven can do some decent zoning on him, but he's still getting something from the bottom lane. And I don't think they have to start breaking towers just yet. I mean, their carry's only level 3, and might stay that way as he does get kicked up top.
Top lane, Aoi is going to drop pretty low. They had the Hurl Boulder commitment, and that was enough to find the kill there. And bottom lane as well, they're going now onto the Nature's Prophet. He's trying to kill off that Witch Doctor, barely alive. They throw out the Stormhammer. Now Bulba in a little bit of trouble. The right clicks are there. He should be able to body block with these if he wanted to, and just walks away.
Oh, Kamuxi again in the mid lane, gonna get Cold Snap EMP. Now the snowball forward. If the Ice Shards are on point, this should be a very guaranteed kill. He does mess it up, but I'm going for a 3-7 with the flick, and should still be able to bring him down. Laser could actually mess this up a little bit, but Kamuxi doesn't pass. Bulba there to guarantee it, and no matter what, he's just always gonna be involved in that if necessary.
Well, that was a nice little bit of gold going back his way, the Winter Wyvern, as well as experience. And that's something that I feel like this hero really needs. Like, you want to be able to get those levels up in Splinter Blast to at least level 3, and then you can sort of leave the off lane for a little while just to the Winter Wyvern and spam out the spells to keep him off the tower. Like, that's really, I feel like, almost the best part about the Winter Wyvern is the D push that's provided with the Splinter Blast.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to it, but the maxing the Splinter Blast, it's very effective at shutting down tower push, and you know, like abilities like Warcry are generally aiding in it, but
Bottom
not
lane.
here.
They're going to be able to kill again. DC are on a roll, and now Owie trying to face off against Sword. The amplified damage is up and trying to get chased down. They do have the crush, is going to connect, and that's going to be a kill, but it looks like Sword is going to drop for it, as Ursa is credited with the kill.
And Soxa will take up the experience, so definitely nice on both ends there. Still more favorable for the Slardar. I mean, this guy suddenly has whatever he needs. He has a lot of branches. He's going for a really unique build if he's actually going to be taking advantage of these branches here. Like, that implies to me like Guardian Greaves long term, Magic Wand, and then going into some sort of mechanism. But I would obviously prioritize the Blink over all else, but you never know. Oh, he's still on the back. Okay.
1437's getting stunned and right-clicked.
He's got the Arctic Burn. He should be okay. I mean, yeah, Matthew's got the flank, but in the end, he's still going to get the distance out, kill off the Centaur, and make his way back to his side.
That was a nice little play right there, making sure that he got a little bit of
Up top.
experience. Is that going to be a kill?
It very well it might be.
They have the snowball, but actually Bulba turns it back around. It's going to be a kill, but I think going the other direction, he gets the stun off, is going to lift him forward as well. Owie is there. Can they find it? Right click coming through. Is going to be able to go for the wand, though, and that keeps him alive for the moment. It does look like Invoker's looking for the snipe. He has a tornado, throws it from afar. Is going to be able to... No, it stops just short. Oh, Sword. That is one of those pucker moments, and it looks like we're going to end up seeing Resolution run away.
Yeah, he doesn't have Ghostwalk Invoke, but I don't know if Matthew is really able to go toe-to-toe with him without Impetus. So he's going to send a few hits his way, but still a very fast Invoker should be able to get his distance out of there. There's no way the Tinker gets close enough for this. Still, Matthew's got a lot of movement speed, but the Wax Invoker will make it to the safe haven. Still, I really want to mention, like, not only how much focus DC are putting in terms of pressure on mid and the occasional gank bottom, but how little they're actually helping Owie. Like, most of their games previously, it's been all about getting Owie farm. This guy, when he loses, he has over 600 GPM. When he wins, he has over 800. They really want to make sure that he gets off to a good start, but this game in particular, they're switching things up. They're saying, okay, well, let's suppress the Tinker, get a little bit of action on the Sven too, and Owie's mostly been forced to a 1v1 in an unfavorable matchup.
Well, and I'm wondering how much this is going to hurt him long term. Again, Sword is going to go for the gank. They do commit the stun, and Matthew's here as well. No Impetus, but they're still going to be able to chase. They have a secondary stomp.
Box.
They are going to be able to come on in now with the Tusk, looking for the turnaround. They have shards if they want to use them. Bulba, oh god, that was odd. Matthew is standing still. I don't know what's happening. Sword, meanwhile, is going to get turned on as well. They're actually going on to Matthew with the snowball. Can they find this, though? It's not quite able to catch him out, and they do manage to find the kill on Slardar, but I think that Enchantress escapes.
It's very close. One more spell coming from the Invoker. It's going to be the Tornado. We will invoke EMP as well, but they don't really have anything after that. So it is going to be the Phase Boost Enchantress to keep herself safe. But in the meantime, they are getting the kill advantage on the side of Digital Chaos.
Well, and so here's my question. You look right now, Ursa is currently 800 gold below the Sven. Is this a problem moving into the mid-game, or do you think that Ursa has enough in his kit as 1437 is going to die in the bottom lane, I think?
Yeah, I mean, Puzzle Brace will help, but he's still going to be going down, I believe. So he'll try to get out. Pulp's coming into the slow.
Oh, the Sprout from afar! They keep him alive, and now they're going to end up turning around. I don't think they can kill the Sven, but saving 1437, my goodness.
Yeah, very clutch. So the Wyvern not only fails to feed, but he gets himself that much closer to level 6. He's going to be active very soon. So to answer your question, I do feel like it's going to set them back a bit that the Ursa isn't 6, but in the end, Ursa can catch up in so many different ways. If he can go for the Roche Pit, then he's going to be able to get the last hit on it, almost guaranteed, and that's a large chunk of change for the Ursa. He's going to be able to jungle pretty much constantly without too much difficulty. And the big thing I'm looking at right now is the fact that Sven is investing so much in stacking up the Ancients. The Helmet Dominator, great item naturally, but the most important part is dominating the creep to stack the Ancients and enhancing his own farm, and I know that DC are already looking at that. I mean, they've got 2 wards in that area. They've got a Sentry Ward blocking the camp. DC are gonna prevent the Sven from exploding in farm, and in turn, levy that differential between the Sven and the Ursa.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see if they're going to be able to make that fight go effectively. Do you think that that's one of those fights that they would want to take before, like maybe get a Roshan beforehand? Actually, we do have Sword, and they're actually going to run right on into him. Snowball forward. He already committed the crush. No, he actually hasn't. So he hasn't used that one as of yet, but does have the shards if they want to use it. The Cold Snap's going to be committed as well, and he does end up going down to the Invoker. Meanwhile, top lane, Chase is going to go on to Matthew, seeing if they can find the kill, but they net him up for the moment. Have a secondary net, enrages it off. That fight recap previously was a 600 gold swing, and looks like Aui's going to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the impetus is a little bit annoying, but the Jay just doesn't really have the mana pool right now to put too many hits into the Ursa. In fact, it's actually going to be bottom where Sven gets stunned up 3 or 4 times over, and it is going to be the Ice Shards to block him out for the kill. A very big kill, in fact, going to Resolution, putting him very close to Hand of Midas. This Invoker is going to start to get very farm very quickly, and the reason that's impressive is because he's not Exhort. Exhort Invokers farm fast. They get the forward spirits up, they push, they farm the jungle, they just get so much for themselves. This Wex Invoker has been ganking. He's 3-1-3, and although he might last hit a tower or something, in general, this level of farm is extremely impressive.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to put him in a position where, you know, the scalability is so important for that late game. By the way, Tinker did manage to pick up his bot, so a pretty good timing for him as well. He's been able to farm like a champ. I saw him taking those stacks, or not stacks rather, but the camps over in the Radiant jungle, which was able to accelerate his farm quite heavily, and I guess probably Blink Dagger next for him, I'm assuming. Does that seem like the fairly just, it never really changes type of build?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you absolutely need a Dagon, there are some games where a Dagon can be picked up as the secondary item, but almost always you're going to want that Blink, and this sort of game is no exception. But while we're looking at top, and there's like been so many TPs and rotations from Luccini, we're actually going to see the classic trade. Tier 1 top in favor of the Radiant, maybe. They're actually backing off, but the second part of that, the trade-off is the Roshan for Ursa. Aui now with the Mask of Madness, with 800 gold, and with the Aegis of Immortality.
Nicely done. And now they're in such a good spot, and it's like we were talking about. Like, we saw a couple of pings out there for the ancient camps, and I believe that was them saying that the camp was blocked. So we might see the Sven think about trying to take those soon, but again, now you're going to have to take those into Ursa with an Aegis, and while Sven can take them very quickly, it's something that's pretty scary still. And I know, after the Mask of Madness, is it just Blink next up for Ursa to be able to get that initiation off the way that they want it?
Generally speaking, that's going to be the most favorable for them. They want to close in. They don't have other great Blink initiators, so I think that's going to be pretty effective. But look here, actually, the Sven's going to take this down very quickly with the help of God's Strength, and it's only now that Sluxka really gets in position to get involved, and even then, there are only 2 heroes, so he'll finish it off.
Yeah, but they did manage to get the shards, so keeping him hemmed in for the moment. They thought about going in. There's going to be the snowball, catches on to Sven. A secondary shard. They're going after him. Walrus Punch committed as well. He is going to end up dropping fairly low. Can they find the kill? They do. That's going to be a dead tusk for it. But still, Ursa with the Aegis. They throw the Tornado EMP combo. They only get one. That was on a creep on the Rage Creep right there. The Winter Wyvern Blast, so a little bit sketchy, that one. But it did keep the Enchantress in place for a second, and now sprouted up as well. They've been able to trade 2 for 1. More importantly, the Sven dead. That's pretty nice.
The Sven and the Tinker still got what they wanted, though. The Sven got the Ancient stack, the Tinker gets another kill. Blink Dagger should be coming online within the next minute. And yeah, they'll clean up maybe 2 Ancients. It's good that DC move in that direction, but they were just not ready to contest it as soon as Luccini were. So unfortunately, they couldn't have actually not only committed that fight, but committed when it was most pertinent, and when this Sven could have lost a lot for it.
Yeah.
But even still, I would say the DC are still dramatically favored going to the next stage of the game. Aui is starting to spike heavily in terms of his own damage potential as well as farm, and they've got 2 Midases to back them up. Like, it's not like their early game has been bad, but the fact that they get 2 Midases behind it just shows how strong DC are right now.
Definitely, they are, and they're firmly in the lead right now. Also, not just in terms of positioning moving forward, but literally in terms of gold that they have on their heroes and experience. So this is going to start to become a bit of a problem. Where's Slardar at in terms of his Blink Dagger? He's almost there, and when you get that up, maybe an opportunity for a turnaround. Again, it's something that they're going to want to make sure that they take very quick use of. It's still just a Slardar with brown boots, though, and it almost feels like if he tries to jump in and initiate, he might get blown up. Do you think that he needs to go for something else before the Blink, or does he is he forced into being active early. Oh god.
No, he has to go for Blink. There is absolutely no way he can go for anything but Blink in this situation. He has to be the initiator. He has to be the one to make things happen. Witch Doctor does get picked up in mid, the tier 1 tower in mid probably shortly after to fall. Like the Ursa gets to farm and the other 4 heroes get to push. It's pretty clear cut. I mean, maybe the March machines can allow them to turtle a little bit longer than a team normally would be able to, but in general, it's just DC are making very clear rotations towards objectives, and that's what they're going to be looking to do for the next 5 minutes, is just get map control. So Luccini have to kind of set their feet at some point and just get involved, start actually fighting, and that requires Slider to have the blink, so he has to buy it out first.
Well, and he does manage to get that now and hasn't quite gotten on his person yet, but they're also going to be stacking up these Ancients a little bit more for Sven. They have a hero, or a creep rather, in the area, but still blocked out for the moment. Here's the thing that I'm kind of curious about is, like you said there, Tinker, he can hold longer than he normally would be able to with the March of the Machines and also, you know, spamming out the rockets and stuff. Is it on Luccini to try and get aggressive because of these Midases, or do you think that they can hold out to the late stages of the game without sort of taking an aggressive route?
I think the turtle potential of the Tinker balances out the push potential of the Nature's Prophet. The fact is, you don't have to constantly be afraid of the rat, the split push bringing things down. It's why, for example, Bulba won't be going Necronomicon this game. It's just like, there's no... The Tinker can manage the rat with the Blink BOTs, and the March Machines should allow him to not only push out all the lanes, but to keep towers alive longer than they normally would. But although he is strong in that defensive capacity, they still, on the side of Luccini, have to start making things happen. They can't keep losing objectives. They can't keep letting these Midases go uncontested. They absolutely have to fight hard in the mid game, or DC will just out-farm them and just out-economy them.
Absolutely. Well, and we'll see if they're going to be able to make that work. As far as items for Sven, it feels like maybe it would need to be a blink or something. It looks like he might... Uh-oh, this is going to be a problem. Tinker maybe going to get caught out, already sprouted, and right now doesn't have his TP boots, is going to end up going down, and God, that is certainly not the way that it needs to go if they want to be able to make this work for their team. Does this need to be a BKB at this stage for Sven, or is he going for the Sanj and Yasha?
I think it's SMY. We see SMY very frequently on Sven these days. The attack speed as well as movement speed is very important for Sven to get involved. And while BKB is very relevant, if you just get one Stormhammer, Warcry, and got Strength out in a fight, your mana pool isn't as important. You're not too worried about EMP. You're worried about being able to fight. So he's got the Quelling Blade to avoid the Sprout. He's going to have the S and Y to move to and from, and hopefully he'll be able to get on the right target to get some quick kills. Because right now DC are just getting all kills all day, and although it is hard for DC to fight in choke points, in general, DC have been favored throughout every engagement.
Well, ships in the night, pass in the jungle, and that's going to be 4 versus 3 that could have ended up fighting each other for the smoke.
Oh, but DC get the information on the courier. Because they drop that ward, they know the courier is moving, and so not only do they know where the courier is, but they know where the heroes are because of where it's going. They
tried to go for the snipe, and now just going to run into 3 of them. They need to be careful. Rezo now trying to run away for the moment. The courier is still going there. They managed to get off one of those rockets. Chase going forward, wanted to go for the catch, but they didn't quite get the stun onto Saksa, and now they're just going to end up backing out. They catch one in this shards as well. This is the most awkward initiation I've ever seen in my life. Sword does have the blink, but they have eyes right on him. He still manages to get it off onto 2. They have the Stormhammer follow-up. They threw it just a little bit too late, but there's going to be the counter initiation. Sprouted up Sven means that he can't hit Matthew right now. Oh, but they still managed to kill him off there. Witch Doctor ultimate is going in the meantime. Aoi dropping low. Bulba is going to die. They end up being able to follow up with that one with the snowball onto the Slardar, and then they didn't quite get the kill though, and still running away. At the moment, there's Rezo throwing out the tornado. Going to be onto Sven. He's still controlled up. They have the amp damage up, but the cold snap's going to kill him off. And they only lost 1 and took 3 in return.
So obviously a really good fight for Jizzle Chaos. The only thing that went right for Luccini in that fight was the Death Ward. Very good positioning from inside, just able to kind of keep himself back, make sure that there wasn't anything to disable him. Snowball was cast, and suddenly he goes. The Death Ward was what killed off the Furion, but other than that, DC just did so much work. I mean, I love the idea of the Winter's Curse plus EMP. That is one of the better ways to use it. Anything that can still affect a target without damaging them. So stacking Furious Swipes, Arcane Orb from OD, EMP, these kinds of abilities are really, really good. And as mentioned, the Invoker is all about positioning his spells, and the Winter's Curse is one of the abilities that can really affect that.
It is kind of interesting though that I think that maybe if they would have gotten the Sprout, if the Sprout hadn't been there at the same time, like the Sven would have been able to kill him. It didn't matter in the end because 1437 still got the Splinter Blast off, but it still is cool to see that sort of unique interaction there. I think one of the other ways that we saw it was Winter Wyvern mixed together with Faceless Void, so you could get like a big catch together with the Winter's Curse and then have the Chrono. It's pretty cool to see it actually work out, even though there have been so many changes. Oh, the blink away!
Very nice.
Good, quick fingers there.
1437, not just a mastermind in the drafting seat, but also has some pretty quick reflexes underneath him. So it's good to see him show what he can do on these USC servers. But I don't know. Luccini are in a tough position to come back. Like Enchantress wants her Dragon Lance, but that's still not. And when she hits level 11 gets Dragon Lance, she'll be able to put a lot more damage. But I'm just not sure it's going to be enough. She's still very vulnerable to the Ursa. The attack speed boost that he gets from his spells and from his mom, for that example, are going to allow him to stay right on top of the inch and most likely bring her down without much for Matthew to say about it. But yeah, I think it just, like I said before, it comes down to a hard initiation. The Slaughter messed up the Blink Crush, the previous exchange. That cannot happen again. They need Sword to be perfect in his crush, and from there, the Sven follow through.
Well, and Sven is going to be building towards that Yasha now, almost completed. It only needs a little bit more gold. The more interesting one to me is this Tinker. He looks to be going for Aghanim Scepter, actually. Already has the Point Booster and the Ogre Club. What do you think about that pickup here? Like, it's been a lot of 5-on-5 engagements, but do you think that this is maybe not going to have enough of mana pool for this?
I mean, I wouldn't imagine that mana pool is going to be the issue for something like this. I would say that as long as he's keeping his distance away from the EMP, that he's going to have all the mana he needs. And the most important thing is about getting that laser out. If you get the laser, it'll bounce like a Witch Doctor spell. It'll make sure that you're able to get this blind, this pure damage out on all your targets. This will make it so that the Ursa is very easy to keep off of you. Every time that he goes in, you pop the laser, you're going to be able to stay alive against the Ursa, and from there, you're also probably putting out some decent damage with the multi-man heat-seeking missile. So I think the most important thing is how much Kamuxi is able to get the laser off in a fight. If he's able to get that laser debuff on Ursa multiple times in a fight, it's going to burn through his Enrage, it's going to burn through his Diffusal Blade charges. It's going to be hard for Aoi to deal with.
So here's something that I'm wondering about. Does Enrage take off that? I know that it purges, but I'm not sure if it works the same way as BKB.
Yeah, it is 100% purgeable, so that's going to be on Aoi to time his spells well and to get it off him as quickly as possible. I believe even a basic dispel like Diffusal or Manta will take it off as well. Okay,
so that's going to be the one interaction there, I guess, and also maybe making sure that he doesn't pop it early, as you were saying. But yeah, it also feels like maybe a couple of these other slightly more squishy heroes. You have this 1437 Winter Wyvern that's built so much around defending against the physical damage coming out from the Sven and the Slardar and the Witch Doctor that that could potentially catch you off guard if you're trying to keep somebody alive with a Cold Embrace. So interesting, and I imagine that now probably Luccini aren't going to try and fight until that's up, or do you think that they can fight beforehand?
I mean, it just depends on the fight. It really comes down to getting better vision out. Right now you see some pretty good defensive Radiant Wards that DC haven't really tripped over yet, but if Luccini are, as mentioned, going to be punishing the Midases, they need to find a way to get involved, and that means more offensive vision. That'll set them up for the fight, get multi-man crushes, multi-man Stormhammers, and that's the only way in. So I think that it's less about the item pickup, which now we do see Kamuxi has just completed, and much more about the positioning and the initiation.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to make it work. As far as vision goes, we do see Luccini with fairly decent. It's mainly by virtue of this one ward up to the top, and seeing as they don't see anybody else on the map, that probably tells them, hey, guess what? There are heroes in the other area. That's kind of interesting. Did you see that? It looked like he spotted out that the Tusk was there. Like he pinged him. I don't know what that was exactly, but it looked like he pinged the Tusk even though they had no vision. I'm not sure if you spotted that, but
yeah, I'm not too sure. The only time I saw this before was like about 5 minutes ago, where the invisible invoker was walking over March and the Sheens, and he was actually getting hit by the machines, and they disappear when they hit a target. So they were actually pinging the path because of the fact that he was getting hit by the machines. But I know exactly what happened in that situation.
Oh, Rezo getting caught. That's not the one. Nice Yule Scepter, keeping him alive. They have a counter initiation if they want to use it. Winter's Curse is available. Already getting the blinding light off onto everybody. This is going to be a dead sword, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to take any more off the back of it. Shards keeping him hemmed in. Matthew is still there doing damage with that Dragon Lance we were talking about. Resolution turns back around, is able to get that Ice Cold Snap off, and they're still dropping very low, but up on the side, it's a very angry bear, and he beats down the Sven. That's going to be 4 dead, and all of DC walk away unscathed. My goodness.
All right, so obviously a really well-executed fight from DC. The big thing is just that how difficult it is to bring down Resolution first and foremost. He's got the Yules, he's got the speed, he's got a lot of disables he can throw towards the enemy, whether a long-duration disarm from the Deafening Blast, obviously the hard disable, the Tornado. These kinds of things are going to make it easier for Resolution to dance, for him to be able to kind of move to and fro in the fights, and for Luccini to have a hard time focusing on anyone in particular.
You can see right now as well, though, those Tinker missiles, the range on them is absolutely ridiculous in terms of how far away you can throw them out from, and it is making pressure that much harder. And I don't know, at this point in time for DC, do you want to start thinking about building something like a pipe to help keep your creeps alive, or do you think it's worth it just to sort of continue with what you're doing and allow the slow siege to take over?
If you are looking at just pushing out down the throne by a certain timer, against Tinker, it's always a good idea to build pipe. Same thing against Escape of the Light. If you are on a timer, building pipe is not a bad idea. However, I don't feel that DC are really in that position. They can consider that if the game goes 45, 50 minutes and they're getting frustrated with how slow they're sieging. But right now, I think they're still just looking to build up their fights. They get the BKB and the Ursa. They're going to get more fighting items on Bulba. And yeah, I think that it's just going to be about getting those kills out when Luccini try to take the fight to them.
Yeah, like it's interesting. Like, this is the most casual 20,000 net worth and experience lead I've ever seen in my life. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like Luccini are completely out of this game, but just based upon the items that are here and like the way that they've been able to win each and every one of these engagements, it really is the case. Like, Luccini are so far behind right now and about to potentially lose their last tier 2 tower. The next Aegis is going to have cheese on it. Like, this is a really scary position for them to be in, and I don't know, they can hold out for a while, but do you think that Sven alone can kind of carry them to victory late game?
The problem is the net worth distribution. Right now, Sven is not on top of the net worth. He's not being able to use his Great Cleave to much effect in terms of farm efficiency. More and more, they're finding that Tinker on the front lines, Kamuxi, has been the one pushing out the lanes with March, and that's gonna happen. Tinker is gonna eat up a lot of the lanes by just that hard push aspect. But more often than not, you'll see that he gets to stack the jungle, he gets to farm that, so the carry can get at least one lane dedicated to himself, or in Sven's case, you can stack the Ancients for him. What I see here is Digital Chaos has been controlling the map extremely well. They've been preventing Sven from getting those stack farms. They've been, oh wow, lots of damage on Enchantress. She barely even gets involved before she's already down to critical HP. But to finish that thought, the one big problem is Kamuxi doesn't really get the chance to go to the far reaches of the map to farm because he's up against an Wax Invoker. Ghostwalk and Cold Snap, those two spells make it impossible for Kamuxi to take risks. So instead, the Tinker is eating the Sven's farm, which in turn is eating away at Lucini's chances of coming back.
Well, and you see right here as well, they're keeping great vision. These wards, again, are just so good. I mean, they're called the Tinker wards for a reason. It's basically the thing that was added in there to mess around with them that much more. And I feel like just getting those up there, it's going to completely and totally, like, there's probably going to be a point at some time in this game where Tinker needs to push out a lane and is going to get punished for it. And like you said, the Invoker being the Bosswex nature that he is, it makes it that much more difficult. Sanjin Yasha Blink completed for the Sven. Is it BKB next, or do you want to try and hold off on it at all? Like, is there any reason to do that at all? Oh god, Shards, not going to catch.
I think BKB is still really important. I mean, the EMP isn't as much of a nuisance for Sven as it is for other heroes, but the more important thing is you're going to expect a Nature's Prophet to go for Hex next. And while most people consider Hex to counter BKB in the instantaneous aspect of it, it's still important to consider the possibility of getting the BKB off before the fight begins and avoiding that Hex altogether. So I think that's something that he has to look at, is he's being controlled in a lot of ways. Some of that he can subvert with BKB, some of it he can't, like the Walrus Punch, the inevitable Basher on the Ursa. These things are going to be less effective in terms of BKB purchase, but all in all, it's still a very important item this game for him to stay on target.
Well, he's already building into it right there, and again, it's one of these things where you're having Kamuxi on this Tinker just keep the lanes pressured, but I mean this is terrifying at this stage. He's hemmed in by 3 heroes. I don't think they realized that he was even over there, but or if they necessarily even care. But they're just trying to pressure these lanes out, and of course Nature's Prophet is doing the best that he can by keeping his treants in the lane, and you've got the Forged Spirits all the way over the area as well. But there's just nowhere for the rest of the side of Luccini to farm at this stage.
So yeah, I mean that's the limitation right now, and that's what DC's game plan overall has been. Is just get that or Geometry Sight rather early on the resolution, get those anti-tinker wards, and take early towers. There's only 1 outer tower remaining for Luccini, and honestly, DC could probably push that one in pretty soon if they felt it was necessary. It just comes down to the fact that DC have been playing a really good game of using their Aegis window to extend their advantage, and from there just create the strong economy where they could take advantage of all parts of the map, especially because Bulba's so mobile. Like, Bulba has never been without a place to farm, and so he's been able to take advantage of that with that short teleport cooldown.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of Roshan as well, like you were talking about, them making good use of it, it's going to be back up in just under a minute now, so it does feel like that might be sort of the go signal. I will say that one of the problems we've occasionally seen, is that going to be a TP in? Does Bulba see him? They end up being able to catch eyes, and he's going to end up TPing away, but they do have the Winter's Curse to be able to get thrown out, and I think Sven might be in trouble now. He does have the Blink Dagger, but it's going to end up getting broken again. They do have the Stormhammer that goes out. Resolution's found him. There's going to be the Tornado out, and this should be a kill. I mean, Tinker's going to be able to come in this direction, but if he shows up, he's just going to die also. And just like that, they lose the Sven right around the same time Roche is going to go down.
What a find. That was just very impressive. I mean, I believe it was in the time the creeps were fading that he blinked into the trees, and thus they saw the blink animation, expected it, and just got lucky that he hadn't TP'd yet. But yeah, that was incredible. Now 40 seconds on the clock where they can just start pushing hard without any remorse. They'll walk past wards. They just want to get the jump quick, and they should be able to do so up top.
Oh, Bulba, he found on out at the Witch Doctor. The right clicks are there. They do end up being able to catch the Witch Doctor ultimate's committed, but they get the Cold Embrace to keep him alive, and now going after Sword a little bit more. Tinker is throwing out his things from the high ground. Sword dropping low. EMP is going to get committed. Snowball onto Matthew. Are they going to be able to find this? Oh my goodness. Enchantress was able to kill off the Nature's Prophet. 1,300 gold with that last impetus shot that went through. Ursa does come over and give him a little bit of a hug, but man, that was a lot of gold going the Enchantress's way.
You can just see the fear in Kamuxi right now. He can't even go in for a laser because of the BKB existing on Aoi. Aoi still has a 10-second BKB, didn't have to pop it, was ready to pop it if ever the Tinker came in. But obviously, the fear of the BKB, the threat of the BKB, made it so the Tinker couldn't make that play. And Tornado will not be on target, but in general, DC are showing just how great of game sense they have. Of course, the massive wards and their massive vision advantage helps, but still they are realizing just where on the map they can exploit Lucchini's positioning, and obviously they have a tremendous kill advantage as a result.
Well, and this is something that I want to say is a bit of a difference from some of the previous DC squad that we had, where it felt like at times they weren't willing to take risks and go high ground. This to me feels like, as we are going to see the Tinker get lifted up and maybe going to end up getting brought down. Resolution has everything he could possibly want. Right clicks a bounty, does get the disarm off. Actually a little bit afraid to go too much further, and they are going to throw out one last Tornado for style points. With the Sunstrike, it didn't even matter. They found the kill. But this feels like a very controlled aggression, which is a different thing than what we've seen previously, I feel like. And I've just been really impressed with their game today.
Yeah, overall, they've been able to do a lot of things. Part of that is really like the experience of Resolution. This guy, as a mid player, knows when to go for the playmaking and when to just kind of dial it down a notch. But I would say that there's no real reckless aggression players on the side of in DC in general. I mean, yeah, somebody will pick that sentence apart and be like, oh, what about this time and this time? But in general, I would say that Aoi 2000, from his history of playing carry in 2013, he always, in my mind, was one of those players that knew how to move on the map in the late game stage, and that's one of the most important parts of being a carry. So being able to suppress in the mid game and not get too reckless seems kind of a second nature to him, and it's also something we've seen from Resolution when his team isn't diving. Usually in the past he's been on a lot of CIS teams where they go balls to the wall, and Resolution is kind of the guy that backs it up, but he's never the one that forces errors. So I love to see these guys kind of just calm, cool, and collected. Yes, there will be times where it's just YOLO, balls to the walls aggression, but today is not that day. This game is very much DC in control, ready to roll, and ready to close out game one.
And you said that today is not that day. I had glimpses of Aragorn storming the Black Gate right there. It was some chills, man, but looks like they're going to be going for another little play here. It was the side of Luccini trying to come and contest. It's going to be Witch Doctor getting out of there, and I think that he does manage to escape, yeah, so they're fine for the moment. Luccini wanted to be able to contest that, and it wasn't going to happen.
1437 has a sheep stick, dude. I know he's probably had that for like a minute, and I didn't even catch it, but that's because I'm not looking for it. Like, who is looking for the Winter Wyvern Blink Midas sheep stick at 34 minutes? That's just insane. I was just about to start talking about the Bulba one that I was sure was going to be coming out, but no, it's the friggin' Wyvern that beats him to the punch. And we've got 2 hexes against the side of Luccini. They are in ultra late game mode, and it's only 35 minutes.
That's because they have 35,000 net worth lead and about their same amount of experience. Like, they are so freaking farmed right now. Tusk is about to, well, probably not super soon, but when they start to take these other barracks, he's going to surpass the Sven in terms of the last hits. They do manage to catch here. Ice Wall down. Guess what? Sven doesn't have his BKB yet. This is going to be a problem. I don't know how they hold high ground at this stage. Like, DC has built this unstoppable mass of just ridiculous damage and control. You've got the Octarine core up on the Invoker on top of his phase boots with the Yule Scepter, and it feels like at any given point in time they can just move in after all the lanes are pushed and take the game.
When at this point in the game, 2 cores on DC's side have sold Hand of Midas's, you know that they've got farm. They are stacked, and they are ready to just go in for the kill. Smoking up, jumping on Sven here, should be the Hex to open it, and that is going to be massive. Oh no! Doesn't get the full opener. There was no detection there, just fear. He farms the wave, he gets back immediately. The Sentry Ward does spot an Observer. They know that they're just outside, but they can't react in time.
God, look at him evaporate. Now they're going forward on the inside. He's going to go down. They do have the Tinker throwing out missiles from afar. Resolution is still there. Going to connect. Oh, God, that's a time when you want a BKB. Able to blink away as well, man. 1437 is just styling on Sword right now. He has jumped away from his crushes at least 3 times this game, doing an absolutely fabulous job. They had to buy back on the Slardar for that one, and it didn't end up paying off. My God.
It's just too much, man. I mean, they'll get deawarded in the base, but at this point, Luccini just need a miracle to pull themselves back out. They need a 5-man Blink Crush, Blink Stormhammer, and just burn them all down with the cleave. Like, there's no other way. It has to be DC clumping up for the biggest error and the biggest throws you've seen, because right now DC are large and in charge, and it's only going to take them another few minutes at this rate.
Well, Sven has his BKB, so there we go. He doesn't quite have it up and ready to go. He needs to pop it if he wants to. Well, they actually don't commit for that one. I thought maybe they were just trying to get him to bait out the BKB. They're being very, very sure of themselves. They're not taking this lightly, but the Aegis is going to expire in 2 minutes. Like, how much more farm do you need?
Well, you can always get more farm. Moon charts for everyone, but for now, Bulba, he'll probably go into the base with the next 2-minute frame. I think they'll be able to take advantage of it, just pushing up this top wave here. If you look at just creeps in general, like the creeps are approaching on all fronts. We've got bottom pushed out, mid pushed out, and now top lane's getting pushed out. And that's the optimal time to be jumping in, where you're getting some siege damage while the fight goes through. And of course, you've got, you have 3 lives on the stage of profit. 1 naturally, 1 with the Aegis, and 1 with the buyback TP.
Well, he has his Midas. He's going to drop his Midas onto the Courier, maybe his drums. Yeah, he drops the Midas on the Courier, picks up his drums, and now is going to join the team fight. So the Courier's 7th item slot is going to work, and 1437 gets his Midas used as well. Pretty nicely done there. The experience.
Oh, he's sniping the Courier too. Oh my gosh, this Courier. Oh no, Aghanim Scepter for Enchantress. Oh, 13 HP. Distracted Bulba as well. Means it's not time for them to break the base.
All right, so they hold on, and that means that this could end up being, again, a bit of a problem where, you know, Bulba here is going to run out of the Aegis. He's already run out of the Aegis, actually, and they're continuing to zone the courier, which is not something that you often say in a Dota 2 match, but it's what's happening, and they are going to be able to keep it for now. So Enchantress gets the Ags for the next one, maybe? The possibility of burgeoning comeback? I doubt it, as we are going to have Aoi jump forward, and is he going to be able to not catch onto the Sven? So still, they need to take this base at some point.
Yeah, they're actually just popping Alacrity here, just putting out some gradual siege. And finally, Bulba will enter. I think the Aegis will not be taking part in this fight, but even still, they're fully committed.
See, they throw it on forward. Are going to be able to jump now on Aoi. He's just tearing them apart. Is going to be dropping fairly low, but the 80% damage reduction, along with the cold embrace, everybody else from Luccini is dying, and still Aoi survives. He does finally go down. That's going to be 1,600 gold going the Tinker's way. Bulba is going to end up going down. His Aegis has already expired. Can they find the kill? They do. That's going to be another 1,000 gold going Tinker's way. Now we have Sven caught up in the moment, but they're going to have to back out. That's 2 heroes dead. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Tinker has 4,500 gold.
Wow. All of a sudden, that is in 2 kills, both ways, Luccini get a 7,000 gold swing. I mean, that's just incredible. But they did lose a single Rax, but you gotta say #worth it. That is 100%. If Luccini have a way back in, it's getting just stacks like that. That's gonna be take on 3. Something like that, and Kamuxi is going to be able to put it to work.
I will say that, you know, again, you need like 3 more of those to really make it work. And I guess they do have 3 barracks, so maybe it will happen. But they don't quite catch there onto the Sven. He just blinks on back. I don't know how you do this next, because like again, they're bringing down the
for Aoi to dive under tier 4s again. Like that's all you can do.
Yeah, it's much more about playing for DC to lose than for you to win, almost. I mean, you got to make the right plays, but Sven actually, he's going to be able to finish off a Daedalus maybe pretty soon, or might just go for the Chrysalis first. What is your feel for what Sven wants to go next? Is that pretty much it?
I mean, presumably. Obviously, things like AC can help your building survive a little bit longer, but yeah, in general, like, you just need damage, so I would say something either like finishing out Satanic, but he's just gonna get kited, so Daedalus seems
top lane. Tinker's gotten caught. They do have the Sheep Stick already committed. He does end up going down, I believe, trying to get out of there, but not gonna happen, and they might think about going on to Aoi now. They do have Vision over here. They've already lost one, but enabling turning over and instead going to go on to the Tusk. He's going to drop low. Snowball saved for the moment, but I think that that's going to be for not. Turn it back around. The DC, it's Aoi in front, and he's going to be able to kill off Matthew right from the start. Oh, God, 80% damage reduction again. Billy KB is there, but it's not going to be enough. Aoi just continues to hug him to death. That's going to end up being a secondary kill. Invoker finishes off the Witch Doctor. Sword is trying to run away, the lone survivor. But all the rest of his team has died, and I think that could be just about curtains.
I mean, there are a lot of buybacks still. Of course, the Tinker is going to be expending quite a bit to get it, but I mean, they have to do something. Bottom Rax is not on the table for something they're willing to trade. They have to try to find a way to fight it with 3 heroes, the Tinker, the Sven, the Slardar. If they lose this bottom lane, I mean, it's further GG than ever it was.
All right, well, Scott's good. They do get 2 now with the stun, but the EMP out there, and Tinker is going to continue to shoot out those missiles, just being a little bit of a pain. Sasuke's still alive for the moment and goes for the rearm, a secondary missile shot. They've already lost the lane of barracks, and now maybe they end up just getting 1 consolation kill. Again, Tinker, the one getting all of the gold and experience at this stage and finding those last hits. 3,700 currently on him, so the buyback hurt, but still pretty good.
I mean, that is... in the end, a 248 gold gain because of the reduction, the 60% reduction that he received when he bought back. So it's not great, but it's the bottom racks. It's the most important thing. DC, take that, only lose the Tusk. And it was going to be nearly impossible for them to lose a fight before, and now they have full racks in their advantage, constant push in, and a Roshan spawning in just 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, and if they don't take it with this one, I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, like, again, you gotta go for it. You gotta make something happen. Aoi currently has 3,100 gold on him. He's got buyback, plus a little bit more. You know, you don't get a whole lot stronger, and Luccini do get significantly stronger if you let it happen. That being said, it would be a whole heck of a lot for them to really let them get back into this game. Tornado is going to catch, but I don't think that they have everybody there for the follow-up at this stage, and just going to call it good for the moment.
All right. Well, we're going to be seeing right now the mid lane be suppressed heavily. We don't even have an Aghanim's Nature's Prophet, and they're still going to be like continuously fighting creeps here. Sven's good for it. Tinker can manage it, but they're going to expose themselves every time.
There's the combo. Sword is going to go down, as well as the Witch Doctor. They end up being able to catch with the Egg of the Sunstrike. Oh, Invoker doing things really big right now, and does lift up the Sven. Sprouted as well, in a little bit of trouble. Guess what? Where's your Quelling Blade? He's going to end up going down. GG ends up being called, as we do see DC finally finish off Luccini in spectacular fashion. Very well played by them. Lyrical Dota joined today by Blaze. Blaze, do you think that this was just draft, or do you feel like it was sort of more a function of how the game was played?
I mean, it's both. It is definitely the game plan that DC put into it. When you talk about strategy and what 1437 wants to put into it, it's not just looking at heroes, it's not just looking at gameplay. It's the combination of the two that you're looking to use to subvert your opponent. They knew Kamuxi's Tinker was a threat. They disabled it. They made sure that they were on top of him for the majority of the early game, and they were able to follow through with objective push. The value of the Ursa, again, is not just the fact that he's able to do really well against certain heroes. It's the fact that he's able to do really well in terms of Roshan control, in terms of putting out pressure. Like, you can't leave this guy alone. He's going to get big, he's going to do damage, and there's a lot of fear to be made in playing against an Ursa. So the Ursa goes for the pit, they go for towers, they just follow through, rinse and repeat. They've got a really clear, crisp formula for their win here, and I gotta say that I expect it going into game 2, but Luccini, we'll see what they learned.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be right back in just a second with game number 2. Luccini facing off against DC. And again, this has been the BTS Series, America's Division number 4, the final, well, second to final day of the first round of action, and we'll be right back. See you guys then.